Hello, everyone. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into a fascinating topic. Can you learn English while you sleep? Imagine this. You close your eyes after a long day, put on your headphones, and while you're dreaming of flying through the clouds, your brain magically absorbs hundreds of English words and phrases. You wake up the next morning, and suddenly you can speak English like a native speaker. Sounds incredible, right? This is the dream that many language learners hope is real, but is it possible? Well, before we dive into the science, let's explore why this idea is so popular and why so many learners are curious about sleep learning in the first place. The idea of learning during sleep has been around for decades. In movies, TV shows, and advertisements, people often talk about subliminal learning, where you just listen to something in the background and your brain picks it up automatically. Some people even buy special audio programs that promise overnight fluency in a new language. After all, it sounds like the ultimate shortcut, learning without effort. You don't have to spend hours memorizing vocabulary, practicing grammar, or doing exercises. You just need to sleep, and the language will flow into your mind like water into a glass. It's a tempting idea because learning English is a journey that requires time and commitment. And who doesn't love the thought of gaining skills without lifting a finger? When we think about why people are attracted to this concept, it comes down to two main things: convenience and efficiency. First, convenience. Many learners are busy. You might have school, work, family responsibilities, and very little free time to focus on your English studies. The thought of turning bedtime into learning time is exciting. Second, efficiency. Everyone wants results faster. If sleep learning actually works, you could turn 8 hours of sleep into 8 hours of English practice without losing any waking time. It feels like a cheat code for the brain. But let's think logically for a moment. Learning English involves understanding sounds, forming meaning, and connecting new information to things you already know. For example, when you learn a new word like adventure, your brain needs to connect its meaning, pronunciation, and usage to your existing memory. Can this really happen while you're completely unconscious? Some people believe it can because they've experienced something called passive exposure. Maybe you've listened to English songs or watched movies repeatedly, and then later, without realizing it, you remember certain words or phrases. That gives hope that your brain is secretly learning even when you're not fully paying attention. Sleep is also a mysterious time for the brain. Neuroscientists have discovered that while we sleep, our brains are busy organizing information, strengthening memories, and even solving problems. This is called memory consolidation. For example, if you study English vocabulary before sleeping, your brain might process and store that knowledge more effectively than if you only studied in the morning. So it's true that sleep plays a role in learning, but the question remains, does listening to English audio during sleep really teach you the language, or is that just wishful thinking? In this segment, we've looked at why the idea of sleep learning is so attractive. People dream of effortless learning because it saves time and feels magical. But as we move forward, we'll explore the science behind sleep learning, and you might be surprised by what researchers have discovered. Keep listening, because the truth about learning English while you sleep is both fascinating and a little bit unexpected. Now that we've explored the curiosity behind the idea, let's get scientific. Can the human brain really learn English while you sleep? Researchers have been studying sleep and memory for years, and the results are intriguing. To understand this better, we first need to know how sleep works and what happens in your brain while you're dreaming. Sleep is not just one simple state. It has different stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep,
rapid eye movement. During light and deep sleep, your brain is mostly in maintenance mode, repairing your body, clearing waste, and consolidating memories. REM sleep is where most of your dreams happen, and your brain is highly active. Scientists have discovered that our ability to retain new information is strongest during certain stages of sleep. However, learning a brand new skill or language while unconscious is much harder than strengthening something you already studied while awake. Several experiments have tried to test this idea. One famous study played foreign words to sleeping participants to see if they would remember them when they woke up. The results? Most people did not magically learn new vocabulary from scratch. However, in some cases, if people had already studied the words while awake, hearing them again during sleep helped strengthen their memory. This means that sleep learning is more about reinforcing existing knowledge rather than creating new knowledge from nothing. Think of your brain like a garden. When you are awake and studying English, you are planting seeds, new vocabulary, grammar rules, and phrases. When you sleep, your brain is like a gardener, watering those seeds and making them grow stronger. If you don't plant any seeds while awake, the gardener has nothing to water. So playing English audio during sleep might help review and reinforce what you already know, but it won't instantly teach you something new without any prior exposure. Another interesting discovery is about passive listening. If you play English podcasts, audiobooks, or recordings of vocabulary while sleeping, your brain may not fully understand the meaning, but it can become familiar with the sounds and rhythm of English. This is helpful for improving pronunciation and listening skills indirectly, because your brain becomes more comfortable with the patterns of the language. Some learners report that after weeks of listening to English audio while sleeping, they feel more confident recognizing words in conversations, even if they can't explain how. However, there are some limitations. Continuous audio during sleep can disturb your rest, especially if the volume is too high or the content is too active. Poor sleep can harm memory and focus, which is the opposite of what you want when learning a language. That's why experts recommend using sleep audio as a support tool, not a primary method. So, science tells us that learning English while sleeping is not a magic trick, but there is some benefit in combining it with active learning. Your brain can reinforce and reactivate memories while you sleep, making your previous study sessions more effective. The key is to see sleep learning as a booster, not a replacement for real practice.
Welcome back. In the first segment, we explored why sleep learning fascinates so many people. And in the second segment, we looked at the science behind it, discovering that sleep learning is more about reinforcement than instant language acquisition. Now, let's talk about something practical, smarter ways to use audio learning to boost your English, whether you're awake or asleep. First, let's clarify something. Active learning is always more effective than passive learning. If you spend time reading, speaking, and practicing English while awake, you're giving your brain the raw material it needs to process and store information. But audio learning can be a powerful support system, especially for improving listening skills, pronunciation, and vocabulary retention. Think of it like this. Your main study sessions are the meals, and your audio learning is the snack that keeps your brain nourished in between. So, how can you use audio learning effectively? The first step is choosing the right content. Not all audio is equal. Some learners make the mistake of playing random English conversations or complicated audiobooks that are way beyond their current level. This often leads to frustration, or worse, your brain just tunes out. To learn effectively, pick audio content that is clear, slow enough for you to follow, and relevant to your current learning goals.
For example, if you are an intermediate learner, English podcasts for learners, language learning apps with audio lessons, or simple audiobooks can be perfect. Another smart approach is layered listening. Here's how it works. Listen actively first. During the day, pick a short English audio file, maybe a 2 to 5 minute podcast clip or a story. Listen to it actively with your full attention. Try to understand the meaning, repeat the sentences, and notice new words. Review before sleep. Listen to the same audio again while relaxing in bed. This time, you're not forcing yourself to analyze, you're just letting your brain absorb the rhythm and sound. Sleep reinforcement. If you want, you can let the same audio play softly on repeat while you sleep. Since your brain has already been introduced to the content, sleep can help consolidate the memory, making it easier to recall the next day. Another effective technique is audio shadowing, which can be combined with sleep learning. Shadowing is when you listen to English audio and try to repeat the words immediately after the speaker, almost like an echo. Doing this while awake improves pronunciation, fluency, and listening comprehension. After practicing shadowing in the evening, playing the same audio at night may help your brain solidify the patterns you practiced. It's like practicing a dance routine before bed and then letting your mind replay it in the background while you rest. You can also use personalized audio playlists for reinforcement. Many learners create a mix of vocabulary recordings with words and example sentences, short English conversations, pronunciation drills or tongue twisters, or favorite English songs or easy audiobooks. The key is familiarity. Your brain loves repetition. If you listen to the same playlist several times over a week, you'll notice certain words and phrases stick naturally. Over time, when you hear them in real-life conversations, you'll recognize them immediately, without translating in your head. However, there's a common mistake that I want to warn you about: relying only on passive sleep learning. Some learners think they can skip all active study and just sleep with English audio every night. Unfortunately, that doesn't lead to fluency. Imagine trying to learn how to swim by only watching swimming videos in your sleep. You might recognize the movements, but you won't be able to perform them in the water. Language is a skill, and skills require practice, mistakes, and active engagement. A smarter strategy is to treat audio learning as a booster to your daily practice. Spend at least 20 to 30 minutes each day doing active study, reading, writing, speaking, and listening carefully. Then use audio learning, both awake and during sleep, as a way to immerse yourself in English without extra effort. This combination creates a strong feedback loop for your brain. Lastly, let's talk about mindset. If you approach sleep learning expecting to wake up fluent in English, you'll be disappointed. But if you see it as extra exposure that reinforces your active study, you'll notice gradual improvement. You might find that certain words start to feel more natural, or that your listening skills improve over time. Small progress adds up, and combined with consistent daily practice, it can give your English learning journey a real boost. So, smarter audio learning is all about choosing the right level of content, practicing active listening first, using repetition and familiarity to strengthen memory, and combining active study with passive reinforcement. In the next and final segment, we'll bring everything together. We'll talk about how to create your own sleep learning routine, how to avoid common mistakes, and the best way to turn your sleep into a language supporting tool. If you've ever dreamed of making your pillow a language teacher, don't miss this last part.
Welcome to the final segment of today's episode. So far, we've explored the curiosity behind sleep learning, uncovered the science of how our brains process language at night, and learned some smart strategies for audio learning. Now let's bring everything together. If you want to make sleep a helpful partner in your English learning journey, This segment will show you how to create a simple, effective routine and avoid the mistakes that make sleep learning useless. First, let's accept the truth about sleep learning. You will not wake up fluent in English overnight. There is no magic shortcut that replaces real practice. But sleep can become a silent helper. When you sleep, your brain is like a librarian working the night shift, organizing memories, reinforcing what you studied, and making connections that help you recall information faster the next day. If you combine active learning in the day with passive reinforcement at night, you're using your brain's natural rhythms to your advantage. So, how do you create a sleep learning routine? Let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Prepare your mind before sleep. Before bed, spend at least 15 to 30 minutes reviewing English actively. This could be reading a short passage, going through vocabulary flashcards, or practicing pronunciation with a short audio file. Think of it as planting seeds in your brain. Sleep will water those seeds, but if you plant nothing, there's nothing to grow. For example, if you want to focus on food vocabulary, review 10 to 15 related words like recipe, ingredient, or spicy, and say them out loud with example sentences. Step 2. Choose the right audio. Your audio playlist is the key to effective sleep learning. Avoid long, complicated podcasts or fast conversations that you cannot follow. Instead, choose short, clear, and repetitive audio. This can include vocabulary lists with example sentences, slow English podcasts or audiobooks, dialogues from English learning apps, short recordings of yourself reading sentences or vocabulary aloud. When the content is familiar and understandable, your brain is more likely to process it during light sleep. If it's too difficult or unfamiliar, your brain will simply ignore it. Step 3. Set the right environment. Good sleep is essential. If audio learning disturbs your sleep, it will do more harm than good. Follow these tips for a sleep-friendly setup. Play the audio at low volume, just loud enough to hear softly. Use a timer or playlist loop that lasts 1 to 2 hours instead of all night. Consider bone conduction headphones or a soft speaker instead of uncomfortable earbuds. Keep your room dark and comfortable because deep sleep is still your priority. Some learners also use binaural beats or relaxing background music along with English audio to create a calm environment. But keep it simple. Your brain doesn't need too many distractions while it works at night. Step 4. Combine with morning review. When you wake up, take 5 to 10 minutes to actively review the material you played overnight. You might notice that certain words or phrases feel more familiar, or you might recall the rhythm of sentences, even if you didn't consciously memorize them. This step connects your sleep time exposure with daytime practice, which is how real learning happens. Now, let's talk about common mistakes that many learners make with sleep learning. Skipping active study. If you rely only on sleep learning, you won't progress. Sleep learning is a booster, not a replacement. Playing audio that is too hard. If your brain can't recognize anything, it will simply tune out. Familiarity is key. Disturbing your sleep. Poor quality sleep reduces memory retention. Always prioritize healthy rest over background audio. Changing material too often. Repetition is the secret. Listen to the same short audio for several nights before switching to new material. If you avoid these mistakes and build a consistent routine, you can turn sleep into a powerful ally. Think of it like charging your phone at night. Your brain is recharging too, and the audio is like a gentle current of English flowing into your memory.
Let's also talk about motivation and realistic expectations. You might not notice results in the first few nights. Sleep learning is gradual, like learning to ride a bike. At first, it feels slow, but after a few weeks, you might catch yourself recognizing more words in songs, movies, or conversations. Your pronunciation might improve because your brain is getting used to English rhythm and sounds. This is progress, and small progress compounds into big results over time. Finally, remember that English is a living skill. Sleep can help your memory, but true fluency comes from interaction, speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Use sleep learning as an extra tool, like a bonus practice session that requires no effort. Combine it with daily practice, and you'll notice a real difference. So, can you learn English while you sleep? The honest answer is yes and no. No, you can't become fluent overnight with zero effort. But yes, you can reinforce what you've learned, improve listening comfort, and make your study sessions more effective with the right routine. Treat sleep as your secret English partner, and it will quietly support your journey to fluency. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. I'm Alex, and I hope this discussion has helped you see sleep learning in a new light. Remember, study actively, sleep smartly, and let your dreams take you closer to English fluency.